The European Union's COVID measures that expanded government control over travel are now being brought back to expand government control over internet access. The EU's response to COVID, if you remember, was to issue digital ID passes that dictated who could travel and who could not. Well, now they want to use that same system, that same infrastructure to control who can access social media and much of the internet and who cannot. The COVID health crisis is long over, but the government's expanded power lives on and is now threatening new areas of public life. Hello, I'm Michael. This is Southern Realism, a channel about power, geopolitics, and decline. Who could have possibly seen this coming, right? Europeans were told that the COVID pass system was temporary, that it was an emergency measure for a public health crisis. But government power is almost never temporary once that infrastructure is in place, because politicians use crises to create systems that survive long after the crisis ends. And now Ursula von der Leyen is repurposing that same digital infrastructure, that same system, to establish centralized control for internet access in Brussels. The EU says that this is about protecting children online through an age verification system. And of course, that is a real concern. We don't want children to be exposed to harmful content. But during COVID, Europeans were told that they needed digital verification to travel. And now Europeans are being told that they need digital verification to access much of the internet. It's a different justification, but it's the same infrastructure and it's expanded power. Now, once that infrastructure exists, its use almost always expands. You can count on that. First, it was public health. Now we see that it's child safety. Tomorrow, it could be so-called misinformation, extremism, so-called hate speech, or political radicalization. It really could be anything. Anything is on the table. Every new crisis becomes another justification for expanding the system further, for taking away more of your freedom. And this is why this matters. The internet is now where people communicate, where we argue and organize politically, where we consume news and express dissent. And once governments normalize digital verification for access to those spaces, they gain enormous power over public life itself. Now, this was a system built during a moment of fear and emergency. And Europeans were told that these powers were temporary. But that was the foot in the door. Now the crisis is over, and power is being adapted for entirely new purposes, for a new contrived crisis. Never let a good crisis go to waste, politicians have said. Well, this is what central governments do.